A few weeks ago, I was asked what diversity statements are and why are they increasingly important for faculty. In this talk, I bring you advice from Pardis Madavi and Scott Brooks so that you know what to avoid and what to include when drafting your diversity statement. In a future talk, I will bring you some critical statements against the requirements for diversity statements. Search committees at colleges and universities increasingly require candidates applying for faculty or leadership position to submit diversity statements. And in the post-COVID online world, where interviews are truncated at best, we are increasingly reliant on the written materials of the applicants. Universities across the United States are now considering making diversity statements mandatory for all faculty. Many institutions ask faculty to post diversity statements online for students to read before or during their course to demonstrate the institution's and the individual's commitment to diversity and inclusion. Some universities even offer incentives such as merit increases for those willing to do so. A well-constructed diversity statement is especially important for online instructors who need to provide a carefully considered response to the additional layer of challenges that many students face when studying remotely. Here we lay some of the red flags to avoid and key frameworks to embed when writing a diversity statement. Hello, I am Professor Gad Yair, and in my YouTube channel and my online course, Land Your Academic Career, you will learn everything you need to know about your career in academia. I provide you with tips and information on new trends in higher education. My course, the link to which is given below, goes deeper and takes a more practical approach. Join me on your journey to land your academic career. Let us begin with what to avoid in writing your diversity statement, the red flags. Common mistakes or pitfalls when writing a diversity statement fall into three major categories that we enlarge on: diversity by proxy, personal stories of redemption, and the exceptionalist argument. 1. Diversity by proxy. Diversity by proxy is when candidates borrow from the success of others, an organization or program. Candidates speak specifically about their department's student demographics or a program for students of color that they direct, are part of, or appreciate. Example 1. Our university is one of the most diverse campuses in the country. We are X% white, Y% Latin, Z% Asian Pacific Islander, and A% African American. No, do not do that. Example 2. Candidates might mention success and claim some responsibility implicitly or explicitly. I am a faculty mentor for the McNair Scholars Program, and we have had wonderful, bright students who just need intense mentorship. No, do not write that either. Example 3. The message of "I support success for people of color" can be followed by surprise and self-congratulation. We have students who do very well. One or two have even gone on to graduate school at very good schools. One of my students from Chicago, a first-generation student from a single-parent household, is a first-year PhD student at Berkeley. No, this is not a diversity statement. We call this diversity by proxy because the candidate's example relies on numbers that tell us where they are and not who they are or what they have done. Second, they are borrowing identity, status, and achievement by linking themselves to the success stories of students of color or faculty. In this way, they give undue credit to themselves as a savior. As said, don't do that. 2. Personal stories of redemption. Candidates write about personal experiences that have occurred outside of the academy and are meant to reflect their appreciation for diversity and inclusion and their dissatisfaction with racism. Let us hear some examples again. Example 1. They may write about an event that solidified their understanding of privilege. Quote, "I grew up in a small town where there was only one Indian family, and one of the girls from that family became a close friend. And then in 6th grade, everything changed. She and I both auditioned for the school play, Annie, and it was clear that another girl got the lead because she was a white girl and looked the part. But my friend was clearly better than anyone else. I felt bad for her, but there was nothing I could do. And that is why I really feel so strongly about racism and exclusion and do what I can to help students of color. Now go, they say. Don't follow this template. Example 2. They may also talk about how they work with and learn so much from their colleagues of color and students of color. The focus is on their feelings and how they assuage their feelings of social injustice by their engagement. But does this lead to fighting structural issues found in the academy? The playing field is never level. And so, what do they do for those they do not deem clearly better? Indeed, tough questions. Now to no-no number 3. 3. The exceptionalist argument. Candidates write that they are in favor of diversity and inclusion, but have not been in a position to fight against exclusionary practices. Let us hear some examples for this no-go diversity statement. Example 1. Diversity is important, but I cannot do it because my discipline is based on dead white men. Example 2. I believe in diversity, but I have not been in a leadership position where I might make decisions. I would be supported if there were some people of color here. This exceptionalist argument suggests that impact can only be made from certain positions, thereby exonerating most people who do not go against the grain. This obscures the roles that all faculty play in maintaining the status quo and contributing in small and large ways to discriminatory practices and negative outcomes for faculty, staff, and students of color. Bias can lead to misassessing students, even creating unequal learning conditions. A student can be characterized as low achieving when they may need more encouragement or when they come from a high school with fewer resources. In committee work, colleagues may use different adjectives to describe the quality of work of women colleagues and colleagues of color. So, up till now, we discussed the no of diversity statements. But what should we write? How should we think about that? So here is what to include. Key frameworks. Some white colleagues ask, can white candidates even write something that would be acceptable? This is a valid question, and we say, of course they can. And some people of color will write poor statements. A good statement could come in countless forms. Although some may feel that they cannot write from a position of experience, this is absolutely not the case. Their experiences are simply different. We identify 4 elements found in a strong diversity statement. 1. Diversity is a strategy. 2. Evidence of addressing structural challenges. 3. Recognition and underscoring of the invisible labor done by faculty and staff of color. And 4. Demonstrated enlightened mentoring. In the following section, we tackle those 4 strategies for writing diversity statements. In my course, you will find many examples attached to this lesson. 1. Diversity as a strategy. Creating a plan rather than simply taking an action moves people beyond reacting and shows an understanding of the intersectionality and the matrices of oppression. For online teachers, it is especially important to consider the contours of their students' lives. The strongest statements are those where they see that there are interlocking issues. Food insecurities connected to student learning, impression management with professor, matriculation, and well-being. For example, an online teaching candidate may have supported student support with financial and social support and mentoring, and may have even made changes to policies that excluded certain people or groups based on unnecessary criteria. The strongest statements are those where candidates articulate how diversity is used centrally in rethinking budget, curriculum, and access. 2. Evidence of addressing structural challenges. Strong diversity statements include examples of candidates who advocate for structural changes. They show that they recognize and make systemic changes to address this. Candidates can write about white space and how they have educated others and implemented new practices that go against the status quo. They may have found systemic holes and problems that have disparate effects on women of color. They may have counteracted systemic and institutionalized practices. For instance, strong candidates mention noticing varying languages, such as different adjectives in the evaluations of faculty, staff, and students of color. 3. Recognition or underscoring of invisible labor. Supporting faculty and staff of color must be multifaceted. It is widely known and acknowledged that faculty of color have different experiences in academia. They are counted on to take on certain services because they are a person of color, and students of color look to them more than to white colleagues, and they face student racism themselves. 4. Demonstrated enlightened mentoring. Mentors who are woke to and address structural challenges, who use diversity as a strategy, and who recognize or underscore the invisible labor and challenges of faculty, staff, and students of color will mentor in ways that have longer-term impacts and mitigate exclusion and discriminatory practices. Mentoring is especially difficult in the online world, but candidates who write about ways they have overcome this demonstrate strong commitments to the work of the framework we call JEDI: Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. The JEDI framework is about more than 1 or 2 actions and goes beyond a checklist. Therefore, posting a diversity statement online is, in and of itself, not enough. However, this is an important part of systemic change when faculty post diversity statements, and these become an integral part of performance reviews and promotion. We are elevating the importance of JEDI work and taking a step in the right direction of the structural changes needed for social transformation. I know that for some of you, these recommendations are truly strange. They are relevant in the context of American higher education. However, if you are an outsider and want to understand what the fuss is all about, you are advised to appreciate this unique cultural sensitivity to racism and exclusion. This is part of higher education in America to correct past wrongs, even racism and slavery, on campus. In a future talk, I will provide you with some critical voices against the requirement to submit diversity statements. This is a debate. Until next time, I am Professor Gad Yair.